name's Sylvia Norberg, and I've been here at Rice for about 2 years now. I was raised in Northern California with a large Hispanic family. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 10 because of domestic violence. My father was an alcoholic, and he abused my mom in front of us quite often. My mom divorced him when I was 10 and met my stepdad shortly after that. And he was in the Navy, so he moved us out here to San Diego. We were kind of upset at first leaving all of our cousins behind, but we got used to sunny San Diego. Pretty soon after we moved here, we met a lot of friends, met a lot of boys. I was boy crazy at a really young age. I met a guy, and him and I got pretty serious pretty quickly in high school. And I found myself pregnant at 16. Like a lot of girls my age, the first thing that came to mind was Planned Parenthood. I was too ashamed and embarrassed to tell my parents. Didn't want them to think bad of me. But a lot of my friends had similar situations and they took care of it, so I did too. We went down to Planned Parenthood and it was just an easy process. They confirm the pregnancy, help you fill out the paperwork, and you're on the road for the appointment for the abortion. So we went ahead and we went down a few days later, and it was like having a tooth pulled. Everything was clinical. There was no education. There were no options shown to us. No parental consent. And in those moments that I was in that clinic, I just remember crying, and I just wanted my mom. And I couldn't tell her. I remember being on the bed in the room that day and being scared, crying, and the doctor just looked at me and said, "Don't worry, it'll be over quick." And it was over pretty fast. I knew what I did was wrong. I walked out of that room crying and upset and ashamed. Shortly after that, I graduated high school. I went on to be irresponsible and date other boys, and I ended up pregnant again at 18. This time was different though, because my parents had become born-again Christians, and they had talked about abortion being wrong and about pro-life, and I knew that the feeling I had of guilt and shame, it had something to do with God, and I just didn't know what. And I didn't think that God would love me. I didn't. I questioned that. I was ashamed. I was ashamed at being pregnant, but I knew that I couldn't do it again. I told the father of the baby that I was pregnant, and he was scared like a lot of boys our age, and he chose not to be a part of my pregnancy. And I told him that I was going to have the baby no matter what. And I went home and told my parents, and they were disappointed, just like most parents would be. But they said that they would support me and help me, and they did. I had a beautiful baby girl when I was 19, 2 weeks after my birthday. She's 35 years old now. Her name is Amanda. She's married to a wonderful, godly man named RJ, and they have a beautiful son named Eli. I went on to get married to my first husband and have 4 other children. And during the pregnancies and the births of those children, my abortion would always come back, and it'd rise up, and I'd get that sting in my heart, and I didn't know what it was because I knew that God forgave me, kind of, but that sting was still there, and I didn't understand why it was still there. But I just kind of push it down. And fast forward to a year ago, a friend of mine had reached out to me and told me that her daughter that was 18 was going to have an abortion and had planned it for that following week, and if I would pray. And she had no idea what my story was. I had never told her my story. So I shared my story with her, and I said, please tell her not to do it. She'll have so much regret, and God wants to use it for good. I promise you he'll use it for good. And so we just prayed, and the day before I think she was supposed to go in, my friend texted me and said she canceled the appointment. And God said, there it is. He poked me and he goes, okay, now I want you to tell your story. I went, all right, let's do it. And I said, how do I do it? So the only thing I could think of was the pregnancy care clinic. It's so much more than just a place that gives free pregnancy tests. It's a family there. They love on people. I was just there a few days ago, and it's a family. They just love on anyone that walks into that door. And our community needs us. Our community, our young girls, our women that are in their 20s and 30s that don't see any hope when they get pregnant. They don't know what to do. There is a place to go, that they have things there and they have the resources and they have God on their side. God is working in that place. I think knowing that God could use our darkest moments in our life for something good is the message here. That something that you feel so much shame about and heartache and loss and turmoil, you have turmoil about it inside, God can turn it into something beautiful. Knowing that my son is in heaven and I'll get to hug him one day for the first time just gives me peace. And knowing that my story will help other women and other people find healing and reconciliation with God and discover the true love, the whole love that God has for us, even in our darkest places. That gives me peace and gives me hope, and it gives me something positive about my story. I don't have to think about it and be sad and sulk and turmoil anymore. I know that God's going to turn it into something good, and He already has.